All right. Welcome, everybody, to today's office hours. We're going to go over some filtering and tagging. We have a lot of new users that are coming on board, and wanted to go back to some of the basics and some of the things that are important in Realvolve for making your life a little bit easier. So we'll begin with a little bit of information about those filters and tags and go into it a little bit more in depth. So for those that don't know me, my name is Mark Stepp. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at Realvolve and have been in this real estate technology industry for 33 years, 3 decades. Seems like forever, yet it went by so fast. My big thing is helping you guys understand the why. Why do we do certain things in technology to help you be more productive in your daily business? So hope that is a good introduction of myself. I have written a book on workflows and how to incorporate those into your business. You can get that on Amazon, but it is something that I've spent a lifetime doing. One of the things that we're going to be talking about, we're going to talk about the creating and using of filters. We're going to talk about tagging and using those tags within workflows. So we're going to go into some depth on those, show you how to get some additional help and support if you need it, and also some information from premium services. And Amber, looks like you're on there. If one of the things that we have available is our premium services group, and they are wonderful for helping step through different types of processes and stuff. If you really need additional help, you probably get some additional information to you. So 2 powerful tools that are in your toolbox within Realvolve that I want to really cover today. Filters. And filters are really used for finding information now. I want to filter something. I want to get to something. I want it now. Tags, on the other hand, are used for finding information later. What is it that down the road I'm going to need to group some information and do something with it? But I need to prepare now so that I can use it later. So just keep those 2 things in your mind for a moment. Now, filters can be used in a lot of different places. We use filters in contacts. One of the things about contacts, because we are a CRM, a contact relationship manager, you will do more with contacts than most things, and it's enhanced. We have some additional features and stuff within the contacts area where it's enhanced. It's an enhanced filtering capability. You can create some custom filters, and they're savable. So that's some important information there for those. For properties, transactions, activities, workflows, and templates, those that can all be filtered as well, but they use a more simple filter because there's limited things that you can really filter on, and not as often, but certainly there. But one thing that you need to always remember is whenever you set a filter in any of these, technically, it will bring back that filter automatically the next time you visit that page. So the last used, it will, whatever filter you're on a given screen, if you leave that screen, you come back to that screen, that filter will remain. The advantage there is you can just set it up once. The disadvantage is that if you don't remember that, it's like, where's all my data? Maybe you were searching for something and maybe a tag or something got changed, and now your data isn't in the state that it was whenever you were first looking at it. Well, it may be filtered out. It just may not be there simply because the filter is applied and it's just not showing. It's not that it's not in the database. We've had lots of people say, oh my goodness, I put all this time into, putting data into Realvolve and my data's gone. It's like, no, it's not gone. It's just a matter of, clearing out your filter typically. So just realize that. So want to first go into the contact filters. Now, one of the things that you will see, and we'll go into some live examples on this here in a little bit, but inside the contact area, there is a filter area where you can click down. By default, when you first come in, it'll say all contacts. It's just a little drop down for all contacts. And you can quickly click on the little down arrow. You can select from other options. You can, create a new filter, or you can do your all filters. If you've created other filters and named them, then it will show you the recently used, which ones have you used recently, and that'll be divided up. I think it's the first 3 in that group always. And then after that will be your saved filters. So this will scroll down and you'll see as many saved filters that you may have inside your list. Now, what this does then is this allows you to filter multiple different ways, and we're going to go into that. But realize that it's easy to switch between them just by clicking on the drop down. You can create custom filters, name them, use them, reuse them, and then you've got the recently used, the saved. And then one of the things that you can do is the custom filters details can be displayed. So once you select a filter, say in this case I had February birthdays, if I click on the little I, it will display more information about that particular filter. Basically, what it does is this. So whenever you click on the I, it opens up this summary section of that filter. It'll give you the basic details. In this case, the birthday was anywhere between February 1st and the 29th. And then if I want to, I can then click on edit, and I can edit this filter and add additional things or change things however I need. Whenever I click on that, it kind of opens up some additional areas that I can then fine tune that filter and do some more things. Now, for February birthdays, typically that's all you're going to want is just the date range. One of the things that is important to know, and I didn't actually show this on this, but we will on the live section, is that for certain dates, birthdays and anniversaries, date types, you might go in there and you might say, well, I want to have a date range, but I don't want the year. I don't care about what year it is. And we have an option for selecting that in those date options. So in some cases, you do want a date range with the year. Say, I want everything on a certain month, certain year, and it'll bring back information. In this case, I want all birthdays, no matter what year, and bring those up. So whenever I do that, whenever I have this filter turned on, it will show you the count of how many records there are. And I can click on the little chevrons here, the double chevrons, and it'll open up and view more information. Again, we'll show this actually live here in just a few minutes. So one of the things that you need to understand is, how do I create these filters? How, if I want to create a new filter, and there's a lot of some technical jargon that might be a little bit confusing if you don't understand it, and I want to try to help you guys understand it. The first part is pretty much all these different options are things that you can filter on, but each one of them have certain subsections to them. So it's with the little arrows there, goes into more detail. If you're dealing with the tags, and there's a few others, but mainly with the tags anyway, you have an additional option for anding and oring, and that is a computer thing. One of the things to understand is, if you're wanting to use multiple tags, let's say I want to find everybody that's got a tag of newsletter, that's fine. It's just one tag, and it'll bring up a list of everybody with a newsletter. But maybe I want to bring up a list of people that's on my newsletter list that maybe is also in my support group, or whatever, maybe my some other group of some sort. Well, now we have two different tags. And if I have two different tags, how do I want to deal with those? I could say any, meaning if a person has tag 1 or tag 2, doesn't matter, any of them, then go ahead and show it. That's the ORing, tag 1 or tag 2. If I want to say, well, I only want those people that are on my newsletter list that are also in this group, maybe it's a church group or whatever, and you want to limit it to just those people that are newsletter and the church group, we would use all, meaning I need to use all the selected tags. The technical jargon on that is the and. So this and that have to meet the criteria. Or I might go in there and say, well, I want everybody in my database except for anybody that's currently on my newsletter list. And I could choose no, or it's the not option. In computer terms, the or, and not are very common. So I could go in there and say, well, who do I have in my database that's not on my newsletter list? And maybe I want to put them on that newsletter list. So you go through and then you can go in and do the view all, select multiples, and do some mass tagging or whatever. But this just allows you to set up some very customized ways of filtering out those contacts that either have or do not have certain attributes. The attributes being tags, the categories, which is the A, B, C, D options. Who's the record owner? Maybe I want to, if you're in a team and you want to go in there and say, well, I only want records for certain team members, or the record type, is it a personal or is it a company? The referrer option is give me a list of everybody that is referred by a certain person. The source type, where did I get that name from? Was it from the web? Was it from Zillow, Trulia, whatever? Others, there are some other options. We'll go into that on the live. Really don't want to have to worry about that one. That's mainly used for finding the outliers, the things that are maybe don't have email, don't have addresses. So there's some options there. We've got some date range options, the contact type, relationship scoring. This is good for if you're wanting to say, I want to find my best people. Who has the highest score in my database? Stage status and rent or own. So these are some very common filters that a lot of people use, and you have that ability. Now, if you are doing multiple options like categories A, B, C, and D are in there. If you choose A and B, it will do the anding or the ORing option for you automatically. So it's A or B, because there's only one option. You can't have multiple categories for an individual contact record. But whenever you're bringing back the records, you might want to say, give me everybody that's an A, or you might say, give me everybody that's an A or B. So anytime there's multiples besides the tags, if there's multiple options in any of these, it's always using the or option, meaning it's can be either of the choices that you put in there. But whenever you're dealing with multiple types of filters, so maybe I want to say the tag is newsletter, and I also want certain categories, maybe A, B, C, and C's. The A, B, and C will be ORed, meaning it'll be any of those. But between the two, I have to have both of them. So it has to be newsletter, and it has to be one of these three categories whenever you're choosing multiple types of filters. You cannot OR in between the filter types. Hoping that makes sense. If there's any questions on that, unmute your mic and ask. But this is just a way that allows you to say, okay, I've got lots of data in my database. Some of our users will have, a few hundred. Some of our users have tens of thousands of records, and finding people in those records is important. And having tags, and we'll discuss more about tags itself as a separate entity, is important to know whenever you're needing to do any kind of filters. For now, you need to set up your tagging process for later so that you can bring back these records whenever you need them now. Any questions on that? And like I said, we're going to go live. So if there's not, maybe it'll come out live. Okay. So let's go on. So that was for contacts. For properties, similar types of things, but instead of being more complex, I mean, there's a lot of complexity. It's enhanced filtering. For the properties and the other ones we have, it's a very simplified filter, much more simplified, because most people only need certain things anyway in these. So we designed it to make it a lot easier. Now, with the filters, there are the 7 different filters for properties. The tags, just like in contacts, it's really the same type of selection process. You have a section for status, active, under contract, those types of things are in status. You've got a price range, so you can narrow your properties down by price range, by date range. When was it listed? When does it expire? Typical things that you're going to want to do there. There are some property feature type filters. How many bedrooms, bathrooms, garage slots, and even square footage. Some very basic items for narrowing down. So somebody comes in to your office and says, well, what properties do we have that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage? Well, you can pull it up on MLS, obviously, and do some stuff. But if you just want to pull those active ones up that are in your inventory, point them out real quick without having to think hard about which ones are which, that filtering process is extremely easy. There is one for subdivision and also specific cities. So those are the main filters. Again, remember that if something is selected, it'll be dark, basically meaning that filter is applied. So in this case, if it was dark like this, the statusing, whether it's active, under contract, pending, whatever, those options are being applied. Whenever you leave that screen, whenever you come back, those same selections will be dark, continue to be dark, and meaning that the filter itself will continue to be there. So again, it's like, oh, I'm missing properties. Well, it's maybe because you filtered out that property for one reason or another. Check your filters, clear your filters. You can clear all the filters real quickly by clicking the X here on the filters item. But each individual dropdown has its own reset as well. So if you go in there and you have selected a certain status, but you've selected other items, but you want to reset just the status, you can go in there, click on the reset option, and it'll set it back to no selection. Pretty simple, straightforward on that. Transaction filters are pretty much identical. There's a few less of them. We've got the tags, the status. We do have the side. Are you representing the selling side, the buying side, or both sides? So sometimes you want to see, what sides they're wanting to do. Price range is in there, and then also the date ranges, the closing date, contract dates, and clear to close dates can be all searched. The thing that you might want to do is say, okay, what closings do I have this month? And then, select the month range or next couple of weeks. You can do that very simply, bring those in. Remember, if you do that and you leave that screen, those selections will be saved. You come back and they will remain there. So if you're missing properties, transactions, they're probably just filtered out. Okay, activities. Now in the activities section of Realvolve, and let me just do this. I'm going to bring over a screen just to show this real quick. So we were talking about contacts, properties, and transactions. Now I'm talking about the activities, this one right here. So whenever I go into the activities section, it's going to list all the activities for a given time frame, and that time frame basically is anything that's past, anything that's past due, we didn't complete it, up to today is the typical list of what's in here. But then you have the option to add these additional filters, and that's what we're talking about right now, is these additional filters. So in that list of filters, you do have the option of saying, well, show me all the ones that have been completed or incompleted. That's this first one right here. It does default to the incompleted. Even if it's not selected, it's going to show incomplete items. If you go in there, you can select incomplete. It'll remain, the list won't change at that point. But you can also say, well, I only want to see my ones that I have completed for a certain date range or something like that. You can do some filtering based off of that to get back some old information. So that's whether complete or incomplete. The tags, it's the same as contacts, properties, and transactions. Really no difference there. But basically, do realize that a tag can be applied to an activity. And by doing that, you can bring up certain activities, which you might want to, tag certain activities with certain that maybe isn't a type. We don't have a certain type for something that you're doing. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but you might think something like an anniversary or birthday, something like that. But technically, they have types, and we can filter by those. But any activity can be tagged just like any contact, property, or transaction, and therefore you can do the different types of things with that. The display order. Now, this one is not as much of a filter as it is, how do I want to display these filters? In this case, I recommend in most cases that you're choosing the first option, which is due date, priority, and order. There are some cases, and certainly depending on your role in the organization, if you're a transaction coordinator, listing coordinator, something like that, you might want to go by address due date options, which is basically the same thing as the first one, but it does group all the addresses together. And the advantage there for those transaction coordinators is you can see maybe there's 4 or 5 things that need to be done for a given address, a property or transaction of some sort. You can get them all done all together. Maybe you're dealing with one property at a time, and you just want to go down through them instead of hopping between properties and transactions based off of their due date items. Maybe you want to just do it by address, and that's a big advantage for those people that want to do it that way. But other than that, these two are basically the same, other than it does prioritize the address first. Priority and order. Some things may have higher priority, even though it's due at a different time, and you could do that. Or we've also got a recently added, not used very often, but certainly there, which ones were added most recently, and should I deal with those? We do have, so that's this display order right here. The contact, or the little head and shoulders person there, is the user. Whose currently assigned to this activity? Do I want to filter by a certain user in my database? If you've got a team, if you're an individual agent, that won't make any difference. But if you are in a team, you've got multiple users in the account, you want to maybe check up on certain people, your assistant or something, you want to see what has been done, has not been done, you can go in there and search that. So that's there. You can also filter by color. So a lot of people will go in there and say, well, certain types of activities, I give certain colors. And based off of that, maybe you want to say, show me all my red, or show me all my green, or show me all whatever. You can do that filtering by color. Great. And then also type. Is it a to-do? Is it an appointment? Is it all the different types that are available within a given calendar item. And we'll go over that kind of in the live section. And then the last thing that's on here, this date range option, again, probably isn't used as much, but it can be useful. Maybe you're getting ready to go on vacation. You guys need vacations occasionally, right? You're going on vacation and you just want to make sure you know what's coming up. What was something that needs to get done? Maybe you need to deal with it ahead of time, or pass that on to somebody. You can give it a date range, show everything that you've got on your calendar for that date range. Maybe you assign it to another teammate or something, or maybe you get it done ahead of time. Those are the types of things that you can do within that date range and be able to see just those items. So you can filter different ways based off of your need. Any questions on those? Nope. Okay. Workflow filters. So workflow filters are basically there's only 3 filters technically. There's contact, property, and transactions. You can filter your workflows by their type, the use with field of either contact, property, transaction. Pretty simple there. No big deal. And this actually should say, I'm going to correct this real quick. This should say template. Sorry, I copied and pasted and didn't do it right. So for template filters, templates have a few different filters. A couple of them, and I unhighlighted them, the Facebook and the LinkedIn. We do have some older users that have older templates that we originally, whenever Realvolve was originally created, we did have the ability to send templated messages and stuff for Facebook and LinkedIn, and they restricted some of that capability. So while we don't actually do it anymore, we do still have some of that content available. So we leave the filters in there for the old ones, but you won't ever actually use them. But maybe you want to pull up all the templates that are just emails, all of them that are just SMS or Twitter, or just the contact filters that are emails, contact that are just SMS. So you can mix and match filters here, so you can pick different ones based off of what you need. Again, they will be dark. In this case, the actual icon is dark versus the background being dark. None of these are selected, so they all show just a basic gray. But if you have it selected, then it will show more of a darker icon in that list. And then just do a quick sample here. So in this case here, if I have zoom in a little bit, if I have a email selected here, then it's just emails that are in my filtered group. I could say, show me just my contact emails, and then it would bring those up, or show me just my transactional emails, and it'll bring those up. So it's just an easy way to filter through the list based off of either its type or how it's being used. Again, these selections are saved between sessions. So if you leave it, you come back, something's missing, it's probably a filter, just filtering it out. Pretty simple. So that's pretty much on filters. I mean, filters, there's a lot to do with filters, and you can do lots of things. The primary purpose of filters, though, is to get access to information now. In most cases, it's just a matter of, I need something right now. I need a certain type. I need a certain person or whatever, or a certain group of persons, I should say. And it allows me to filter through those very easily. Next thing that we want to talk about is tags. And tags are used as part of filters, which we discussed. But some important uses of those is what I really want to cover. One of the things that is important to think about is just effective tag management. I like to say, it's in my map, make a plan. Make a plan of how you want to use tags. It's important that you use tags, but at the same time, you can get inundated with bad tags if you don't use some effective tag management. One thing that you may think about doing, and if you're in a team, you may think about limiting who can create tags, and that is simply a setting in the user's settings area. You can go in there, you can uncheck a tag option, and they can use tags, they can select tags, they just can't create tags. So you might designate it a tag master, somebody that's in your group that controls what tags you guys use and what you don't use. That could be the account owner. It may be somebody else, but certainly something that you should consider based off of what we've run into before, where somebody goes in there and start tagging things and arbitrarily, creating things that are very similar. But if you have similar tags, then you're having to go in there and select multiples as opposed to just selecting one of them. So kind of a pain to deal with if you don't do it properly. Tags can be added to most records in the database. Contacts, properties, transactions, activities, even workflows and templates can have tags. And I want to show you how to effectively use them also on files. Whenever you have either in your contacts, your properties, or transactions, how can you, whenever you upload a file, you can tag those files and use those. And I'm going to show a specific example of how that can be used within your transactions for your, at the end of the year, actually at the beginning of the year, you want to send your most recently closed settlement statements to your people that closed last year so they can use them on their tax records. This would be a great way of using tags within files, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Tags allow you to find groups of data that's based off of something, so we've already kind of gone through that for the filtering. The purpose of the tag is so that you can use them in a filter, okay, of some sort. So those groups of people can be retrieved by that tag. Tags are a powerful tool as far as linking templates to files, and that's really what I want to show right now. One of the things that, because you're on here, you guys, I do want to give you access to opening a new window. I didn't really want to do that. um, is a just escape out of this. I'm going to bring this out over here and show this separately. So one of the things I'm going to have available for you guys is a link to tag planning. It's a little document that we've got that will show you how you can use tags in your workflows, when to apply them, and what tags to add, remove for files, and then also for whenever you're doing workflows themselves, you may want to tag who's on certain workflows and be able to tag that information on the person. Then you can say, okay, show me everybody that's on my holiday list, or show me everybody that's on my long-term buyer list. Based off of those tags, it's very easy to pull those in into the system. And I want to give this to you at the end of the presentation. We are recording this, so in the event that you have to leave early, I will make all this information available and the link available as well. But basically what this does is this allows you to say, okay, based off of any kind of workflow that I'm starting, the very first activity in that workflow could be set up 0 days after the start date as an automatic tag, as an automatic activity to add the tag, whatever it is that you want to add. 10-year nurture, a holiday, newsletter, long-term buyer. There's lots of different types of things, especially if you've got like an active buyer, you're a buyer's agent, and you started a certain active buyer workflow on somebody, automatically tag that contact with active buyer. That way you can go in there and say, okay, show me everybody it's an active buyer. Then if they are an active buyer, you might have had at some point in there a long-term buyer tag, and maybe you want to remove that tag from that person because now they're an active tag. They're no longer a long-term buyer person, and an activity can be set up as an action to be able to add tags and remove tags. So whenever you start this workflow, 0 days after, it automatically starts this activity. The activity starts the action automatically, tagging the person with active buyer and removing long-term buyer if it's there. If it's not there, it doesn't do anything. Same type of thing for buyer contract to close. Whenever the buyer comes in, you might want to say, well, contract to close, I want to add them as a past client. I want to add them as a holiday and my newsletter. I may want to at close, at whenever they do, after they actually do close, remove the active buyer. They're no longer an active buyer. Let's automatically remove that. So that ability to automatically add tags and remove tags is extremely powerful in helping to keep your database clean. So then at any point I can go in there and say, okay, show me all my active buyers, and it'll show me my list, and it will have removed anybody from that list that were active buyers but have maybe recently closed. Very, very easily bring up my list and be able to do things with them. Long-term sellers, same type of thing. If they are a long-term seller, put them on tag them as long-term seller. Then whenever they do become an active buyer, you'll remove that long-term buyer or long-term seller options whenever needed. Tagging your files, which is what I'm going to show next. On any of your workflows that maybe send out emails for certain purposes, maybe you've got something after 0 days after acceptance date, I want to send the contract, the signed contract, to certain people. And you can add contract to a file as a tag. And then whenever it goes to send that email, there's a way of assigning the attachments that are tagged can be automatically attached to that email based off of their tag. And that'll make more sense here in a second. But these are different ways that you might use tags within files and then be able to use them. For closing date, so many days after closing, you might do something and you want to do, add an email, you're going to send an email and you want to add the settlement statement, or maybe at the end of the year, which is what we're going to use in the example here in a few seconds. Acceptance date, do the contract, closing date, settlement statement. Maybe on acceptance date, you also sign the signed disclosures. So maybe you're going to send an email that includes both the contract and the disclosures. So you can actually, within the template, assign multiple tags, and it'll find all the files that meet for that particular property that meet those tagged requirements, and then automatically attach them. Just a simple way of doing that. So we're going to go over that. Tagging you through the life cycle, which is what we were talking about, and tagging overview plan, which is what I'm going to give you at the end of this. Okay. Tags used with filters, we already know this. Mass emails, exports, and updates can be used for filters. There's just lots of things that you can do there. So, because we're starting to run out of time, I really want to get into this. Automatically attach files to templates using tags. This is so powerful, and kind of what I was talking about earlier. Tags can be used to automate templates. Whenever you create a template, an email template of some sort that needs an attachment, obviously, whenever you go in, you're going to send that. You could go in, click attach, and then you can manually attach it. But that takes time, and especially if you're doing lots of emails, like the closing statement, maybe on day 4 of the new year, you have a bunch of settlement statements that you need to send, sending the emails, finding them, finding the attachments. Those can all be very tedious, and we can simplify that in seconds. So basically, there's a setup process. We're going to kind of go through this. We're going to use settlement statement as our tag that we're going to use. We're going to add that tag to one of our attachments, or you can do multiples, but in my example, I'm just doing one. And then use the tag overview that I was just showing you to, where to kind of use those. So some examples here. So I have a property, 111 Main Avenue, Bolivar, and I have a settlement statement. So in this case, I just have a sample settlement statement. It's a PDF file. But one thing that I've done is I've tagged it with settlement statement. Now, whenever you're doing any kind of tagging, actually, there we go. I'm going to pull this up over here. So let me go to 111 Main and go to files. Whenever you can add files, you can select them from your computer, you can upload them, and it puts them into this files area. Here in the tag area here, you can click in this section and you can add tags, and you can add more than one tag to any given file. Maybe this is a settlement statement, maybe it's other things. You can do multiple tag it multiple ways if needed. But what this does then is, for this particular file, it is given a tag. Whenever you have that tag, I can now go in and set up a workflow that uses files as part of a template to do certain things. So maybe I have this document. Hi, greeting, Happy New Year. Are you feeling all settled into your new home, blah, 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 has all the information. Basically, you're saying, I'm sending this information over for your tax professional for tax day. You need this because it's going to be beneficial for your taxes to have this. Now, whenever you're emailing this, if you really wanted to, you could just go in, use this template, and then you can manually click on the attach and select it. Certainly, you can do that. But as a template, whenever you click on that, one of the options that comes up, because you can just upload the file if you want, and choose a file that you already have, or we have an option here called Choose Tags. Whenever you do the Choose Tags tab, it will allow you to choose for this particular document, whatever it is that I'm using, which tags of files do I want to attach automatically to this email. Once you've selected that, in this case, I've selected settlement statement because we want the settlement statement of this transaction to be included. I might include on here closing documents or whatever, but whatever it is that you want to attach automatically that has a certain tag or tags, put it in there. And again, you can have multiple tags. I'm just using one as an example, and then click on the OK. Whenever I do that, then it will show in the bottom of the template itself, it'll show the following tags will be attached, and it shows you how many tags there are, and it'll say settlement statement. Now, there could be, if you've got multiple documents that are tagged settlement statement in a given transaction that you're sending, it will attach all of them that are tagged that. So just be cautious there. If you are keeping multiple copies of things, do some tag management on those, on which of those settlement statements do you really want to send at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. And it'll be selected. Now, the advantage here is I don't have to go, whenever I go to send this, it's going to automatically find any files that are attached to that property or transaction that have the tag settlement statement. I don't have to go searching for it. It'll do it for me automatically. So if I have a workflow, that workflow in this case, this is in the design phase. I'm setting up my workflows here. Is set up for email settlement statement to client, January 4th, 2021. And I want to cover why that says that, or what that, you can actually ignore that, is whenever you go to do a schedule item here, you can specify a certain date in here. But if that date is passed, the year is ignored. And we do that because, well, it just doesn't make sense, number one, for you to have an activity that you're going to send, 3 years ago being started up. It makes more sense that if that date has not passed yet, let's assign it to the next appropriate year that goes along with it. In this case, we're doing it on January 4th. Doesn't really matter what year. If I put in 2025 in here, it would go out on January 4th, 2025. But I don't want to have to go in there and change my workflows every year for just the year. So Realvolve just automatically handles that for you. You don't have to worry about that. But what it does is it takes that January 4th, applies it to the next year. So it will create it for 2025 in this case, if I was to start this today. The activity itself is the title of it is the send settlement statement to client. It is going to be done by my transaction coordinator. My party members, who am I doing this to, would be the buyer two, maybe the buyer's agent. If you're the transaction coordinator and you're wanting to make sure everybody gets their copies of things, you can certainly do that. Selecting those party members is who will receive that settlement statement. Everything else is basically the same. Now in this action, and I didn't really go into this, you're just picking the template and whether you want to send it manually or automatically. Typically, you would send it manually. If you have done it for a year, you feel comfortable doing it automatically, you can switch that at some point. But basically what that does is that allows you to select that template that had the attachment by tag to that action so that whenever I go to complete this activity, it will send it. So here's the example. You'll see that I started this workflow. It came up with the activity on the 111 North Main Avenue. It is scheduled for January 4th, 2025, going back to it ignored the 2021 and automatically bumped it up to the 2025. And who am I sending it to? In this case, Mary O'Beyer and John O'Beyer, Sam Smith, all the different people that need to get it. Whenever I go to complete this, I'm going to be given the option to either automatically send it or edit it before it goes out. If I edit it before it goes out, it would look something like this. It would have the subject, the body of it, showing you the merge fields and stuff. And then down here at the bottom, you'll see that it has automatically attached the settlement statement tag, simple settlement statement .pdf. So it knew that it was looking for a certain tag, and there it is. And if there were multiples, it would have multiple files attached. Once you take a look at that, it looks good. You could go in there and say preview, make sure that it looks right, and then go ahead and send that message. Whenever it is sent, it'll go ahead and merge in the information. Hi, John and Mary, because we were sending it to John and Mary. And then all the basic information, Joe agent, but you'll see that it has the sample settlement statement attached. How simple is that? Now, I don't care if you're doing one transaction a year or if you're doing 100 transactions a year, 200 transactions a year. This is going to save you time just because you're not having to go in there and pull up the template, find the attachment, attach the attachment, and send it for however many times you close. This can be done instantly and send it extremely quickly. So that's that. Any questions on any of that? We're running out of time, and I'm not sure I'm going to have that much time for live demos. Any questions? No? Boy, I'm either good or I've lost everybody. If you would, in the chat, just say yes, this I understand, or no, and I'll follow up with you if any of this doesn't make sense. But it really just comes down to making sure that you appropriately tag. Now, whenever you're tagging properties and transactions, it's just a matter of clicking in here and selecting something. In the files section, it's the same thing. You click in here and you can select tags that you want to tag in on any of those. Whenever you're dealing with the templates themselves, going into templates, you're clicking on the attachment and selecting the attachment based off of tags, and then it uses that tag to send out. Pretty simple. Very powerful. No questions. Okay. If you do have questions and just don't want to voice them here, or you need some additional help setting up workflows, setting up strategies, setting up things that you just don't have time to do or you don't understand it, certainly Realvolve has a lot of power. With great power comes great responsibility, as Uncle Ben would say to Spider-Man. If you need that extra help, do not hesitate to reach out to our sales group. We've got some self-paced options. We've got kind of help you with it, or much deeper. We can go through a 6-week plan, a 12-week plan. There's lots of different options that we can do to help you through things, and premium services can go through that. It does cost extra, granted, but if you were to hire an assistant and get your assistant to go through and do all these things, it's going to cost you a lot more than what our premium services team can put together for you. So something to think about, something to really help you with once you're at that point. If you need additional help and support, certainly within Realvolve, you can click on the little help button here, the how do I, the submit a support ticket, click on help. Lots of different things that you can do to get help and in anything that you're doing, some instructions. One thing I do want to, we've been doing lots of updates on the system, and you can get a full list of all the updates under the updates section. And that's pretty much all I have for you within 3 minutes. So I think I did well. Any last questions? Going once. Going twice. All right. Everybody have a great rest of your week. We will talk to you later.